Assalamu alaikum, grade 8. How are you? Faiza Nadeem here with your English lesson. And as usual, as always, I hope, wish and pray that all of you are hale and hearty, going to school, doing your classworks and homeworks meticulously and diligently. Your academics are very significant for you. Don't forget that. So what we are going to do today, I am going to tell you within a second. Let's go to the board and let's discover what today's lesson is all about. जी, मेरा बहुत प्यारा बेटा और बहुत प्यारी बिटिया. What is the board telling you? The board is telling you to take Oxford Progressive Reader out in specific and the Unit 4 conflict. We are going to do this comprehension Parentade, which is a poem written by Philip Waddle. And it is comprising of page number 99 to 103. Since it's a poem, I have done this vocabulary and questions, but I will do all of them once I will read the poem for you. So let's move on to the next board where I'm going to read the poem and then I'm going to come back and do the vocabulary. Let's go together. Ji beta. Now the board is going to pop out on your screen, right? And I'm going to read it for you. You are going to definitely enjoy the poem. I give you my guarantee. The poem is Parentade. Once upon a time, there was a small town where all the parents got together to discuss ways of improving their children. See, the children were far from perfect. They were often unkempt, untidy, ungrateful, and a number of other words beginning with un. They were often thoughtless, aimless, careless, and a number of words ending in less. And they were often disagreeable, disobedient, discourteous, and a number of words beginning with dis. The parents in the town were very worried about their children. The children of today, they sighed, with sad shakes of their heads. They are not like we were in our day. Then one of the parents, who happened to be a great scientist, had a great idea. He could formulate a potion that would make our town's children perfect. The great scientists asked the other parents whether they thought of his idea, and when they all agreed that it was great, the great scientist got to work. The task wasn't easy, but being a great scientist, he soon perfected a potion, and he called it Parentade and cunningly disguised it as cola, so the children would drink it willingly. The great scientist just made sure that at 0 hour, all the parents in the town have enough Parentade for each child in their household. Then he sat back and awaited the result. It was as simple as that. What a transformation there was in that town! The next day, 200 tidy children set off to school in an orderly manner. There, they astonished their teachers by being perfectly well behaved and working hard. At playtime, the teachers couldn't believe how peaceful it was. No fighting, no horseplay, no screaming. The school was perfectly quiet. And so it went on. At home, the children tidied their rooms, washed behind their ears, cleaned the bath after use. In fact, did everything their parents asked. From that day on, the children behaved perfectly with never a murmur of rebellion. But something was terribly wrong. Perfect children needs perfect parents. And with each passing day, the parents seemed less and less perfect by comparison with their children. The parents began to feel irritable, lazy, scruffy. In truth, they began to feel like perfect slobs. The townspeople called an emergency meeting. Perfect children, they decided, had been a perfectly idiotic idea, and they quickly resolved that the great scientist should formulate an antidote to parentage. The formula wasn't easy, and the days passed until he succeeded. Those parents would rather forget, but at last, being a great scientist, succeeded he did. At 0 hour, all the town's children obediently drank the anti-parentate. Oghs and yaks echoed loudly around the town, as with much clutching of throats and rolling of eyelids. That horrible transformation took place very soon. Amidst sighs of relief and much rejoicing, the parents saw that their offsprings had returned to being their former selves. In the days that follow, the parents were reassured by the crooked school ties and uncombed hair, by the increasing untidy bedrooms, by the whining voices of protest at bedtime, and by the dirt behind their ears. That was all well again. The parents were not perfect, and once more, neither were the children. None of them was perfect. They were all just perfectly normal. Did you enjoy the poem? I did. I hope you have enjoyed hearing it as well, because it was such an easy poem with such an easy wordings, language, that there was nothing to be worried about. Let's move on to the vocabulary. Your first exercise of vocabulary is asking you to write the words that mean this in the poem. The first was having no purpose in life, all the less word. ठीक है? Careless, aimless, all the less words are the words that are used for having no purpose in life. And then impolite, ठीक है? All the dis words, ठीक है? आपकी poem की एक line है, if you remember. तो जितने dis words हैं वो सारे impolite के लिए. Devise or make, formula making or formulate. This is formulate, ठीक है? At the appointed time, at 0 hour. Rough messing about of children, ठीक है? That was all the dis words, right? Where, however, they have turned into a tidy bunched. Decided, resolved. Expressed disgust, oohs and yucks and eye rolls and clutching their throats. Untidy and messy is unkempt. Complaining is protest, and objection is also protest. Complain. This was the vocabulary that was asked from you. Let's move on to the reading for understanding. Reading for understanding, your first question is to summarize the parents' complaints about the children. Well, in the first few lines are all the complaints of the parents, ठीक है? All the words that end with less and started with this. Along with that, they were dissatisfied by their unkempt looks and dirty physique, dirty physical appearance. ठीक है? What was parentage supposed to do to the children? Parentage was supposed to turn them into perfectly behaved children. Parentage was supposed to turn them into perfectly behaved children. Right? What evidence was there that parentage had worked? As we read in the poem, we learned that after drinking parentage, the children the next day perfectly cleaned, marched on in a disciplined manner towards their school, There was no fight in the school. The school was in complete silence. There was quiet everywhere, so there was no fight, no whines, no complaints, and they were doing their perfect homework. Why did the parents ask the scientists to make an antidote to Parentade? The parents asked the scientists to make an antidote to Parentade because perfect children needed perfect parents. And they were not perfect parents. They were perfect slobs. When their children were perfect, all of them turned into lazy, scrubby, and lethargic. What do you think the antidote tasted like? Give 2 reasons for your answers. Well, all the children said yuck and oh. They held their throats and rolled their eyes. So this showed that the antidote tasted rubbish. How did the parents know that the antidote had worked? Because the children had returned to their normal complaints. They have returned to their normal self. That is why they learned that the antidote was working. Let's move on to the next question. What do you think is the message of this poem? The message of this poem is not to interfere in nature. You are what you are, and not to interfere, not to intervene, not to get into what the nature has brought, right? Do not try to turn normal into abnormal. अब रीडिंग फॉर इन्फरेंस एंड इमेजिनेशन, इसमें एक सवाल आपसे पूछा गया है, इफ पेरेंटेड चेंजेस द बिहेवियर ऑफ द चिल्ड्रन, a drink called child aid should change the behavior of parents. If you could invent some child aid, what would you hope its effect would be? अगर मैं child aid invent करूं, ठीक है, तो as a बेटी, I would expect my parents to be less disciplined. They are very disciplined. Oof. They go with the watch. I would want them to become lazy like me, lethargic, ठीक है, to enjoy life and not to work almost all the time. What would you want? Think. What are your complaints about your parent? And you can write all about your complaints towards your parents, how you want them to be improved. Writing task is a creative writing in which you have to describe young people and their parents, and you have to involve these 3-point plan, that older generation's thoughts, the feelings of the young ones, and the conclusion. Well, your topic sentence could be, the older generation always think that they were better in their age of the current young ones. They were more obedient, they were more respectful, they were more careful. Howsoever, the younger generation believe that the change is everywhere. The timings when the older generation had lived had completely changed from today's timings. Everything has changed. So the demand of the day is how the younger generation behave. The older generation did not have so much gadgets, so much exposure to life. Howsoever, the younger generation does. They are more intelligent, they are more sensible, and they have a more knowledge than the older ones. So that is why these things have changed. And you can say with conclusion that each generation is naughty in its own time. It's just that the naughtiness varies according to the situation, according to the time period that the generation is living in, right? So this is your writing task. Since it's a very interesting one, you can write loads and loads of lines and words and pages about this task. So I have left it a little open-ended for you to do so. Let's quickly recapitulate today's lesson. What did we do? We read the poem Parentade. We did its question answers, the vocabulary, and the writing task, along with the reading for inference and reading for understanding. Do so, read the poem again, you'll enjoy it a lot. और सोचो अगर चाइल्ड रेट बन गई और अपने पेरेंट्स को पिला दी तो उनमें क्या क्या चेंजेस आएंगे. इंजॉय करो उनकी चेंजेस को, हंसते खेलते रहो, मुझे दुआओं में याद रखो. इंशाल्लाह we'll meet again in the next lecture. By that time, Allah Hafiz.